Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Avatar: The Last Airbender. I am Mike with Mike Davey Productions, as you may know. Hopefully you have, and if you don't, go ahead and hit this little button up here to go back to the first episode on the first season, because, yeah, we're almost done. So this episode is a three-parter ending episode. I believe when it first came out, I can't remember exactly, but I think it was like a hour and a half long, one long drawn out episode. Whereas it does break up into three actual episodes that are about, give or take, 22 minutes. So that is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be breaking up this finale into three different parts because there's a beginning part which has a little bit to do with what's going on in the story. The second part has quite a bit to do with the factors of what's going to happen in the ending, and then of course the ending itself. Now this episode is relatively interesting actually. There's a lot going on. There is a lot of conflict in this episode. Not so much the Fire Lord or the Fire Nation versus Aang and the gang, but so much versus Aang and the gang versus Aang and the gang. This episode we learn a lot about the Fire Lord, what his actual plan is, and things like that. So with that being said, let's jump into Avatar: The Last Airbender. Here we go. Alright guys, so this episode starts off with a basic training montage. Zuko is outside training Aang in the ways of the fire bending. Tara decides to make drinks for everybody.
Who wants a nice cool glass of watermelon juice?
And distracts Aang from what he's supposed to be doing.
Ooh, me!
Which is, training, but hey, I guess it's break time, maybe? But moving on from that, Zuko gets angry.
Hey, your lesson's not over yet! Get back here!
And Sokka decides to call for a beach party.
Around the house has made us pretty lazy. But I know just the thing to change that. Beach party!
Now, you guys know I hate these episodes where it's, let's go to the beach and waste time because we still have that big bad guy right over there to go and deal with. But hey, let's take a day to the beach. I personally hate these kind of episodes, and I'm glad that it's not this episode. We've had a few of those before, and I've pointed them out throughout the series, but this one actually doesn't stay a beach episode for very long, thankfully. So we get a little montage of everybody chilling out, having fun, building, sand castles and hanging out at the beach with their beach towels and whatnot, and then all of a sudden... Prince Zuko comes flying in and starts attacking Aang. Aang evades Prince Zuko, starts running throughout the little island that they're on. Apparently they are at Prince Zuko's house that he used to vacation in, so it's more of a mansion than it is a house. So it's a really big house. And so he's running around that property because, the Fire Lord doesn't care to go visit places from the past, apparently. I think he even says as much at one point. So he's chasing him around. They finally get to the mansion, and they are, asking, like, why are you chasing me, and all this stuff. And it's like, because we need to defeat the Fire Lord. And so Prince Zuko sends a fire blast towards Aang while he's inside of this mansion, and Aang turns around and throws a big wave of air at Zuko, throwing him out of the house, and then the gang finally catches up with Aang and Prince Zuko. They're all just kind of like, what the heck's going on?
What's wrong with you? You could have hurt Aang!
And Prince Zuko says,
How can you sit around having beach parties when Sozins' comet is only 3 days away?
well, we gotta go beat my dad. You remember that thing that was going on that's only 3 days away now?
Why are you all looking at me like I'm crazy?
About sozins' comet.
And so we come to the realization that Aang is not actually going to try to stop the Fire Lord on the day of the comet.
I was actually gonna wait to fight the Fire Lord until after it came.
Which is understandable. He lost his avatar ability. He cannot go into the avatar state anymore, which is understandable. He can still bend multiple things, which would be helpful, but he's still not a master of all 4 elements.
I'm not ready. I need more time to master firebending.
So he has a little bit of learning left in, let's say, water, fire, earth. He's a master of air, but the other 3 he's kind of lacking in. He might be a water master, but he's definitely lacking in earth and fire.
And frankly, your earthbending could still use some work too.
Moving on from that, Prince Zuko said, "That's a bad idea. We need to stop him before the comet gets there."
Things can't get any worse.
You're wrong. It's about to get worse than you can even imagine.
So we cut back to a little story of when Prince Zuko came back to the Fire Nation after killing Aang, which was kind of a lie propagated by his sister. So we're in the Fire Nation war chambers, and we're strategizing on what we should do to defeat the Earth Kingdom. And somebody brings up the day of the comet, and the Fire Lord tells us his plan.
From our airships we will rain fire over their lands.
He's going to take war balloons on the day of the comet and just destroy everything.
A fire that will destroy everything.
Which is, I guess, a good idea, except for you're going to have to tell all of your people that, are actual Fire Nation people that this is going to happen. But maybe he just doesn't care because, hey, he's the bad guy. So, moving on from that, we find out that, oh no, the Fire Lord is going to kill everyone on the day of the comet, which means that we have, yet again, 3 days to stop the Fire Lord. So then, they kind of come to the realization that they need to beat the Fire Lord, and Sokka comes up with a pep talk, which isn't really a pep talk.
Team Avatar is back! Air, water, earth, fire, fan and sword!
But then Aang kind of takes over and makes everyone feel decently good.
Fighting the Fire Lord is gonna be the hardest thing we've ever done together, but I wouldn't want to do it any other way.
And, not to worry because,
There's one technique you need to know before facing my father: how to redirect lightning.
Katara has the Healy water stuff if stuff goes wrong.
There's always Katara and a little spirit water action.
Yeah, well, we find out that she actually used up all of the Healy water stuff
Actually, I used it all up after Azula shot you.
that they had on his back when he got struck by lightning, and because of the thing that happened way back in season 1, there at the end, because they killed the moon spirit, there is no more Healy water stuff. So if he gets killed, there's no way of healing him anymore from any of that. And since he's no longer able to go through the avatar state, that spirit connection is severed and there's no more avatars. So yeah, very interesting stuff.
You'll have to take the Fire Lord's life before he takes yours.
So to decide what are we going to do, we got to practice to kind of combine our forces and beat the Fire Lord together.
In order to take out the Fire Lord, or in this case, the Melon Lord, our timing has to be perfect.
Because Aang really can't do it by himself fully, so we have to kind of gang up on the Fire Lord and beat him. So they play pretend and practice with a melon scarecrow. A scarecrow with a melon head. So with that, we have Toph, who is now the Melon Lord. Mwahaha. She decides that it is best that she be the person to attack them because she can kind of feel where they're at and be more of a bigger burden on them while they're trying to stop the Melon Lord. So there is a literal scarecrow in the middle, and she's behind it, basically tossing, tar rocks that are on fire at them.
Watch it, Toph!
While they try to get to the Melon Lord. It's pretty funny. It's kind of an interesting thing. We get to see the different tactics that each part of the group get to bring, and even Toph, because she's throwing rocks at them, is still using her abilities in other ways. She's making little like guards that come and trying to knock them out, things like that. And it's pretty interesting to see how each member of the crew has grown in their fighting abilities. But Aang jumps in the air, has his staff, and is about to crush the Melon Lord's head, and he stops. Oh boy. He says, I can't do it. I cannot take another life.
What are you waiting for? Take him out!
I can't.
He was, after all, raised by the air nomads, and their thing is to be peaceful rather than to be harmful to others unless it's absolutely necessary.
I'm sorry, but it just didn't feel right. I didn't feel like myself.
I think, in this case, him being him is one of those, forgiving things if you do it. But, even Sokka kind of says something like that at one point, and when he refuses to kill the Melon Lord, Sokka takes out his sword and very graphically cuts off the Melon Lord's head.
There! That's how it's done.
Which is still a melon, but it's still kind of graphic because it depicts a very interesting imagery. So later that night, Katara comes and says, I have a surprise.
I have a surprise for everyone!
And Toph says, I knew it, you had a thing with Haru.
I knew it! You did have a secret thing with Haru!
And everyone's kind of confused, including myself, and I had to go back and remember who Haru was, and I was like, okay.
No.
But no, this was not what Katara brought to the table. She actually brought them a picture of a baby that she assumed was Prince Zuko. And Prince Zuko basically corrected her in saying,
That's not me. It's my father.
no, that's my dad, the Fire Lord.
But he looks so sweet and innocent.
And they're all like shocked because a baby is cute and innocent and, doesn't grow up to be that. But he's like, nope, that's my dad, all right.
Well, that sweet little kid grew up to be a monster.
And he's, he was a cute, innocent baby, but now he's the evil person that he is. I say, even the one who will not be named from World War II was a baby at one point as well, and probably was cute, I guess. I can't say. I've never really seen pictures of that horrible, horrible person, but babies grow up to do bad and good things, so I guess it's all depending on how they were raised. So it's pretty interesting to see that there is a picture of the Fire Lord, and he was actually happy as a child. Even brings up the this really dumb tactic of
There's glue bending to stick his arms and legs together so he can't bend anymore.
Yeah, then you can show him his baby pictures and all those happy memories will make him good again.
maybe we should show him the picture of when he was a baby, and maybe he'll change his mind and remember how he was happy back in the day. And I'm like, that's not how this works. That's a dumb idea. Then we get into another discussion on how we have to stop the Fire Lord.
Do you really think that would work?
No!
And the only way of stopping him is basically ending his life.
I can't just go around wiping out people I don't like.
And so he gets into a fight.
Sure you can. You're the Avatar.
He gets tired of being in the fight.
What? We're trying to help. Then when you figure out a way for me to beat the Fire Lord without taking his life, I'd love to hear it.
He goes off, and we see that he is at the palace/mansion near the water, but he's in the house, and he is meditating. He's meditating, and Momo comes flying in.
I don't suppose you know what I should do.
Then he's meditating, and Aang falls asleep. We get this vision of this island that comes in while He wakes up in kind of a almost sleepwalking daze, and he swims to the island, and we find out that he is basically in some kind of daze. We don't really know what happened. We do hear some ominous music, but it goes to the next morning, and everyone is looking for Aang.
Okay, that's everything.
No, it's not. Where's Aang?
We don't know where he's at. The island has disappeared. That was right off of the coast, within swimming distance of the island that they were on. Sokka, of course, starts coming up with his genius things on what might have happened to Aang, and he said, well, maybe he went off into the spirit world.
Oh, he's definitely on a spirit world journey.
But Prince Zuko points out that, his body would still be here.
But if he was, wouldn't his body still be here?
And so they decide to go looking for him. And Toph was with Prince Zuko because she wanted to have a special time with him because everyone else had some life-changing moment with him.
What? Everyone else went on a life-changing field trip with Zuko.
And she was disappointed because nothing really happened. She told him basically her entire life story.
And then when I was 9, I ran away again.
And he basically said, I don't care.
I know you had a rough childhood, but we should really focus on finding Aang.
We're dealing with this. So, yeah, she was a bit disappointed in that whole, life-changing event with Prince Zuko.
This is the worst field trip ever.
Which turned out to be nothing. They find that someone's chanting Aang, Aang, Aang. And we see the two characters, Toph and Aang, from that really bad play.
Avatar State! Yep!
And so we don't know what the heck happened to Aang, and we're trying to still figure this out.
Why are you all looking at me?
Well, you are kind of the expert on tracking Aang.
So they are kind of at a loss of what happened, but Prince Zuko has an idea.
Why are we heading towards the Earth Kingdom? No way Aang's there.
Just trust me.
So with that all going on, we cut to the Fire Lord, and he is with Azula. They are going up this thing, and he basically tells Azula that he is not taking her with him during the comet thing because he needs her to stay here, but
I've decided to lead the fleet of airships to Ba Sing Se alone.
But she kind of has a hissy fit.
You can't treat me like this! You can't treat me like Zuko!
While he's trying to tell her this, and so he says,
I need you here to watch over the homeland.
okay, look, I'm going to make you the Fire Lord.
I've decided to declare you the new Fire Lord.
And she's like, great, but what are you going to do?
But what about you?
Well, I am now the Phoenix Lord.
I will be known as the Phoenix King.
And he puts on this big cloak thing and becomes the Phoenix Lord. And so he thinks that with this new comet coming that he will be the greatest, leader of the world because he's destroying most of the world and becoming the Phoenix King because out of the ashes rise greatness or something like that, apparently. So they decide to jump on Appa and go to this bar where the lady, who apparently now is named June,
You've brought us to a seedy Earth Kingdom tavern as what now?
June.
has this mole.
Oh yeah, that weird bounty hunter with the giant mole.
No, not a mole on the face. We've made that joke.
Mole? Her skin is flawless.
But a mole that can see, smell. We've had this experience before. She was a part of an episode a while back where her and this smell-sighted mole, which is confusing, can track Aang and other things based off of the smell of the thing that it's looking for. So they go and she's fighting some random bar dudes and whatnot. And then Aang wakes up and he is floating on this island that is apparently moving, and that is where we end this episode. So with that being said, let's talk about it. Alright guys, so this was a pretty interesting episode. The ending was especially kind of confusing because I do know what it is, but if you haven't seen the series, then you're going to be in for a weird surprise because this whole thing is kind of just weird that's going on with Aang. No, he's not in the spirit world, but that's about as far as I'll say until we get done with the next 2 episodes. It was a pretty interesting episode. Of course, Aang doesn't want to kill anybody, and that's the problem, is that the Fire Lord is the big bad guy, but I like that he believes that he can maybe change his mind, change his heart, make him not be the way that he is. Other people would just say, let's kill him because he's the bad guy. Well, yeah, of course, but there's always a different way to do things. There's always a way to peacefully do things until there's not a way to peacefully do things. It's kind of like Roadhouse. Be nice until it's time not to be nice. So you have to give love a chance in some instances, I guess. So Aang wants to not deal with the Fire Lord for a while, but he finds out that if he doesn't, then the entire Earth is going to go up in flames, quite literally. So he's very torn apart on this because he's not a fully realized avatar. He can't go into the avatar state. Even if he did, he again is not a fully realized avatar, so he could be killed and the cycle of avatar would be destroyed. So we're at a conundrum here. How do you stop the Fire Lord without dying or being killed yourself? That's a very hard question to ask, especially, again, when you're not a fully realized avatar. If he was, it would be fairly simple. You just kind of, do whatever you need to do to make sure that he doesn't, 1, die, but 2, can't control anything. We've done it with the other Fire Lord, but look at where that got us. So, interesting little conundrums all around. The next episode will be pretty interesting because it is, I believe, called The Old Masters, and we're going to learn a lot about a group of people that are fairly interesting. We have met most of them before, if not all of them, but it's pretty interesting that this group of people are actually working together. But that is a story for a different time. So overall, this was a good episode. It's building up properly to a proper ending, which is good, having the conundrum of do I kill the Fire Lord, do I not? How do I do that without losing my own morality? All these questions come into play, and it's pretty interesting to see what will happen at the end of the story. But again, that's a story for a different time. So within this episode, we are stuck with, we are on a moving island moving towards whatever, and the Fire Lord is becoming more and more dictator, king of the Phoenix. So yes, we will have to see what rises from the ashes in the next episode, because it's the next episode is actually really interesting. It's one of those, again, we're building up the steam to the ending. We're filling in those little gaps and things. So the next episode will be pretty interesting. So with that being said, I do want to thank you guys for watching this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know it's not my typical watch and react episodes, but I kind of don't want to do that so much anymore. I'd rather give you guys the story and then talk to you guys about it afterwards, instead of having to react, cut in, maybe talk a little bit longer during the episode, but then I lose out on talking about the parts that I missed. So I'm still trying to figure that out. I know that this series will not have that for the rest of the series, but I hope you guys liked this newer format that I'm doing, where I tell you a part of the story and show you what I'm talking about. I hope is enjoyable for you guys. So if you did enjoy that, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. If you didn't, nobody sees it anyways, go ahead and give it a thumbs down. That's fair. I always have people saying, you know, be quiet, blah, blah, blah. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing it this way. I do have an associate link in the description down below if you would like to get the Blu-ray of the Avatar The Last Airbender series. It kind of helps out the channel. So if you guys want to go do that, that's cool. If not, that's cool too. It is available, I believe, on Paramount Plus. You can also watch it on CBS All Access, I believe. Don't hold me to it, but that is where you can find it, at least on Paramount Plus. And don't forget to give that little subscribe a tappy tappy.
Just tap it in. Just tap it in. Give it a little tappy. Tap, tap, tap-a-roo.
And with that being said, I do want to thank you guys for getting this far in the video. I want to thank all of my subscribers, and we will see you next time. Peace.